Hey everybody, welcome to RockSim Live. Um, Hopefully the microphone's good. Um, is it showing up now? I don't know why I know what you're talking about, the three dot thing. So let me know. Um, can you see me now? We'll see if people can see me because I know there was a weird like broken image link. Let's see. Oh, I can see me there. So people in the chat, let me know if you can see me. I can see me in the regular video, but nobody's chatting, which is concerning. Okay, good. 3D printer guy says all good. Good. Welcome to RockSim Live. Um, I'm not Tim. Tim is his daughter is going to college in the fall, and so they are doing the summer registration thing down in Texas. Cool. I'll keep an eye out if you have any sound issues or video issues. Let me know. I'm using my AirPods, not the normal microphone, so hopefully we avoid some of the sound issues today. So yeah, Tim's out of town, so I am filling in for RockSim Live. So if you guys have any questions about RockSim, Launch Visualizer, Apogee, Rockets, put them in the chat. We didn't get any email submissions this week, so I'm flying a little blind right now. Um, I'm not as good at the technical questions, so if they're super technical, we might have to wait. I'll give them to Tim for next week, but you can definitely take a stab at it. Um, so just looking at the chat here, we got a number of people saying hi. 3D printer guy, you're flying your first K tomorrow. That's super cool. That's huge. I mean, in the grand scheme, they're bigger, but it's pretty darn big. So hopefully that goes well for you. Um, Troy flew a Zephyr, Apogee Zephyr on an H100. That's a great kit, great motor for it. We get a lot of people who want to fly it on, an I bajillion, and then it goes a little high there. So, okay, looks like everybody's good. We all see me now. So to start, I'm going to switch to my screen here and bring up, so this is the Apogee website. Tim usually starts with this. You guys are probably all familiar with it, but here's a good place to start. What I'm actually going to show you, the one thing I did have prepared ahead of time, so hopefully we get some rocket questions here soon, is with the help of the programmer, we updated the motors in the launch visualizer this week. So on our website, if you go down, I think they're still in the new products. We have on our homepage new products. So if you're ever wondering what's new at Apogee, it'll show the first 4, 5, 9, 10 products, the most recent ones that have come in. So our most recent one is the dental scaler. That's our tool of the month. So if you spend $75 and you put the coupon code in, you do have to put the coupon code in, you can get a free dental scaler, which is the thing they use to like scrape your teeth, but Tim uses it to like scrape fillets when you got like blobs of glue. So that's a really cool tool. We got the new Argo D4 Javelin from North Coast, our new kit, the Kestrel that just came out, um, a new Aerotech motor, the G615, some Firebird. So these are ejection charge canisters, but they recess into your bulkhead. So normally, you've got your bulkhead, bulkhead, and then you've got the little cup that sits on top. Well, these actually sit below, and they just kind of hang below. It's kind of like your sink sits below your counter. Um, so it's cool if you've got a really like small payload space, or you just want something kind of fancy. And then the new Enerjet F67. So there are more new products, which you can always get to under the shop menu on the right hand side. Um, there are view new products, and that will show more than just 6. There's 15 total right now, and so there's 2 pages, and they're in the order that they were released. But so we've got the we had the E24s, F-67s, those came in. So I'm going to choose a rocket. Do I have a 24 millimeter? Flying Machine has a 24, but I'll just use my Aspire here. We'll put a 24 in it. So if we go to load the engine or the rocket and then select the motor, and if I go to choose engines, right now it's set to show only engines that match the motor mount diameter. So I'm going to do show only engines that match or are smaller. And then we'll look for those because I don't remember exactly which ones. So the Quest E35, that's new. That was just released, and we just got that in. That's a great motor. It's a 24 millimeter E. So if you like those like E30s, the E15s that don't exist anymore, E20s, like it's a really great kind of versatile motor. So that was cool that Quest released that. So we should have the F41 is also new, F52C, F67C, and then we'll choose a delay. We'll just put 14 because who knows. And then we'll check my, okay, wind. I was playing with the Windtables because they were working on that the other day. And then we'll run the simulation. So let's fly this puppy just to see where it goes and zoom out how this flies on that. But yeah, so the new motors are in the launch visualizer, which is cool. I'm glad we got that updated, and eventually they will be in RockSim to the standard. Like when you buy RockSim, you can always add them to your software too. We've got a bunch of videos on that, and I can show you how to do that again if we need to. But there's my Aspire floating along. So on that new F67, it went 3,400 feet. It's pretty good. So yeah, check out if you've got the launch visualizer, definitely check it out. Play with those new motors. They're pretty cool. They're really good, like versatile motors, most of them that came out. So I recommend trying them out there. So I'm just looking over here at the questions. It says, Tim showed me how to add a camera or two to a rocket. Is there any difference between testing it in RockSim versus the visualizer, which I do not have yet, which is more accurate? They are the same, like they use the same math. So they theoretically they give you the exact same results. The difference, there's a few differences in that if you have regular like RockSim 10 versus RockSim Pro, the launch visualizer, depending on if you have the let's go over here. So the launch visualizer has some things. Let's see. I have a premium account on this one, so everything's unlocked. If you have the free account, or you're not even using an account, because you can use a launch visualizer without even logging in, but there are different restriction levels. So if you do it without logging in, I think you can only go to up to a C or D motor. And then if you log in, but you don't have a paid account, you can go through, I think, a G. It's been a while since we've covered this, so I don't remember off the top of my head. So it limits your motors, and then these settings in here for your starting state and your weather, these are locked or unlocked depending. That being said, so for the launch visualizer, for example, in the launch conditions, assuming you have a premium account, let me log out. Well, I'll show you this first and then log out and we'll see. You can do Windtables in the launch visualizer and RockSim Pro, but not in RockSim. So what that is that normally when you do fly a rocket in RockSim, we'll pull up RockSim, I got RockSim here. So when I am going to launch a rocket and I choose my engine, and then you can set up your starting state and your launch conditions. you can set like wind. So the wind, you can set it to be constant, varying, so different things. But you basically set it for one speed. So if I set it, wind conditions, custom speed, so you can set a range or you set it for one. So here I can set it for like light, which will be a range of 3 to 7 miles per hour. And then I can set my wind to real and set constant or some variability. So when you set those up, if you set it for like constant, so basically your wind is going to be going, if I do um, custom speed range. So if I do custom speed and I set it from 8, oops, not 80, shouldn't be launching rockets at if it's 80, from 8 to 8. So the wind will be 8 miles per hour. It won't vary, it will be 8 miles per hour. If you set some of these ranges, then every time you run a simulation, it's going to pick from that range. So you could run the same simulation 2 or 3 times, or 4 or 5 or 10 times, and get 10 different results because you set a range, but you aren't like setting actual wind levels. You're just saying it's kind of breezy outside. I won't know if the wind is going to be calm at 0 or 2, or like most places these days, you're pretty much in the light to breezy range. Like there are, at least not here in Colorado or most of the places I've been, it's not calm a lot. Usually there is wind of some sort. So you're kind of in that 3 to maybe 10 mile per hour range. When you get much above that, then you're starting to get into the dangerous, 15 mile per hour, 20 mile per hour winds. I mean, that's just getting to where you don't launch. And if you luck out and have a calm day, that's great. Yeah. So this is setting kind of like a static range. In RockSim Pro and the launch visualizer, you can set wind tables. And on a wind table, you are, this is a test one I had, you are saying at 0 feet above sea level. And just so you're aware, this is sea level, not ground level. I was testing this earlier this week. I think it was earlier this week. And I forgot that. And then I was setting wind directions that were below my starting altitude. So basically, the wind was blowing underground. But this is above sea level. So you say at 0 feet above sea level, the wind is coming out of zero, which I think is north. Or maybe, I don't remember now. It doesn't say here. And then the wind velocity is 0 miles per hour. So there is no wind, basically. And then here at 2,000 feet, there is no wind. And there's wind is coming out of the 0 degree direction, and it's 10 miles per hour. So when my rocket goes up and flies, no wind, hits 2,000 feet, boom, the wind is now 10 miles per hour, but it's coming the same direction. I mean, when there was no wind, there's no wind. And then when it hits 2,100 feet, it's now coming out of the 280-degree direction, and it's 15 miles per hour. So a wind table allows you to set the wind at different levels. That's one of the differences between RockSim 10 and the launch visualizer in RockSim Pro. You can do this in RockSim Pro as well. It has wind tables. And if you watched Tim's video like 2 weeks ago, this wasn't working properly. It is now fixed. I'm pretty sure. I've tested it, all that I can test it, and this is back to functioning now. So I don't know how it broke, but it is working. So that's one of the differences in terms of accuracy. But wind tables are one of those things that most people don't need. Again, you just say it's kind of a breezy day. I'm going to set it for 2 to 4 miles per hour or whatever, and just let RockSim sort of estimate in there. But if you have, the data at the site, exactly. This is important when you're going really high, crazy high altitudes, which is why it's in Pro, RockSim Pro, or if you're doing really, really specific flights that needs very, very specific data. So that's one of the things. The other thing that's in Pro, that's in the launch visualizer, is the launch angle information. So launching, you can set the launch angle from vertical. So that's, angling like you normally would at the launch. You turn up to the left, to the right, whatever. So this is angling the launch rod. And you can do that. You can type that in or angle it. And you can see in this picture over here, facing um, the other way, but it's like laying down as I play with that. And you shouldn't ever really be over 30 degrees for safety, which is why that turns red. Then you can also change your launch guide length. You can do that in RockSim, and you can do the angle in RockSim. But then you can start to play with the azimuth angle. So this is also angling it. You can kind of see this is spinning as I move this dial. You can watch the fins. So this is the angle like the rocket is on the pad. So it's rotating the rocket on the pad. Um, and for a lot of rockets, that doesn't make any difference. But if you have a glider where you have a rocket and then a glider attached to it, if you angle the launch rod, but you may still, your glider could be underneath, it could be on top. So this allows you to actually rotate it around. So that is different. And then starting velocity, which 99% of the time you will not need. But if you were to launch a rocket from, say, a plane in the sky or a weather balloon, something that is moving, a moving platform, if you were to launch a rocket off a train or your car as it was driving, which is not allowed, but that's what the starting velocity is. So this is, is the rocket already moving before it even launches? And then if it starts to roll, and then the roll rate. So these are all things that are in the launch visualizer that are not in RockSim 10, but are in RockSim Pro. And for most Rocketeers, this is not important. Like, you don't need this stuff. It just complicates things, or worst case scenario, you could really jack things up if you've got, you don't realize that you've messed up your Windtables. If you've got 100-mile-per-hour wind at 2,000 feet, and then you forget that and you suddenly are launching your rocket and wondering why it's crashing, it's arcing over. Those are the types of things that sometimes you can do without remembering or realizing. So for most Rocketeers, this is kind of fun to play with, but not necessary. If you're doing like a level 3, sometimes some of this stuff is required just because they want a lot of data. So I don't know if that really answers your question, Stirk03. But basically the math is the same. It's built around the same platform, the same formulas. So none of that should be different. It's just a couple of the settings that you can tweak and make more accurate or more specific, I would say, but not really necessary for that. RKA Plan 100. When building a custom designed fin like the Sapphire, with a cutout section, how can you design that? Okay, and then Rob is asking about how to add clay weight to the nose cone in RockSim. Okay, we're gonna do Rob's question first because it's super easy, and we'll knock that out, and then we'll come back to the cutout section in the fin because that one's a little trickier. So Rob, in RockSim, it's super easy to add nose weight. So if I open my rocket here, this is the Apogee Aspire, and you go to your parts list. You just go to the area if you want to add it to your nose cone. So you click on the owning part, so the part it's going to go inside because you're going to put clay inside something. So what part are you going to put it inside? In this case, the nose cone. And then you just come over here to Mass Object, and you can choose from the database if it's something in here. I don't think clay is in here. These are like retainers and engine hooks because they're parts that don't exist in RockSim. So we just made altimeters are in here. Anything that kind of goes inside the rocket screw eyes. So you can just close out of this there. So you just have a generic mass object. I am putting weight mass into the rocket. So you can call it, change the name, clay nose weight, and general. We have general and shock cord. General's fine. And then the mass of your actual clay nose weight. So if I'm putting in 1 gram of nose weight, and then the location. And this is important because this helps with the center of gravity, the CG of your rocket. So watch this CG number as I move the location. So as I move the mass back, the CG is moving back, the balance point of the rocket. So if you leave it at 0, it thinks the clay nose weight is basically on the tip of the rocket. And you may have it in the tip, but probably not at the tip, the very, very tip. So you just slide this little bar, or if you know the measurement, you know how far back, you can just type it in. For this stuff, I usually like the bar, and you just slide it so you can see here in the bigger picture, it's like right inside that curve. So we just added 1 gram of to 1.5 inches from the tip of the nose cone. And you can put it anywhere, it can go in the back of the rocket, and then you click OK. And now you can see in your nose cone, there's your mass right there for the clay. So it's super easy to do that if you're going to add weight to your, a little mass to your object, epoxy, lead pellets, washers, whatever, your kids' silly putty, anything that works, that's what you do. And that's what you do for any mass object that you're putting in a rocket. So if you're adding an altimeter to the rocket, if you're adding foam egg protection, and the only thing that doesn't really apply for is like recovery devices, parachute streamers, because those have a function. So if you just put the mass object instead of a parachute, it will work in terms of where your center of gravity is, how your rocket's balanced. But when it comes time for the parachute to pop out and save your rocket from crashing into the ground, RockSim won't know it's parachute, so that part won't work. So, but anything else that goes inside the rocket, really, we have couplers, we have centering rings. Basically, they're mass objects. They're just preset to be a ring or the right shape. But for all intents and purposes, they're just mass as well because they're inside, and so they don't affect the center pressure of the rocket. So, Rob, that answers that one. So yeah, and let's see, time-wise, okay. So we're gonna do fins now. So the fin component, I'm gonna delete this fin set off of here, and we're gonna make a custom fin for this. So again, you need to select the owning part. So the fins are gonna go on the back body tube. And then we'll, instead of clicking on fins, we're going to click on custom fins, because this will allow us to kind of draw our fin shape whenever we want. Here is a list of standard fins. So these are in the database. For specific ones, we're not going to use those. So we'll just close out of that. So this is our custom fin set here. And then, so the quick answer to your question is you cannot make a cutout with fins. There are actually a couple ways you can sort of fudge it, depending on how that cutout works. And actually, before we do this, let me open the Zephyr here. So you'll see the Zephyr does not have, our Zephyr kit has a cutout. This is where's my, here we are. Because that's a good example. So if you look here at the Zephyr fin, there's a slot in it. And in our RockSim file, I have a close up. Sorry, I'm scrolling really fast, just trying to find this. There we go. So yeah, they have this little slot in here. Yeah, these slots drive me crazy. The Katana has one too, because for laser cutting, they're kind of a pain. Sometimes they don't cut all the way through, and so I kind of loathe them. They look very cool, but production-wise, they're a little frustrating sometimes. So that's what the Zephyr looks like. If you look at our Zephyr here, or if I go to 3D view, you will notice there are no slots, because technically you cannot put a slot on the fins, just with the kind of standard. However, this is custom, okay. There's a couple ways you could do it. You could, down here and move this. You could drag your plan points so that you build kind of like a box. So I could take this guy. Oh, no, I'm gonna leave him here. I'm gonna take a second one. This is a little tricky to do, but take this guy and bring it in. I don't know if you can see so well. And then add another one. There. This is really bad. Clearly I don't draw well, but okay, I'm gonna do this because it's a little easier to see. So you can kind of like trick it and then like do a little like up back here. So your fin, so like if you look here at my sad little fins, so you can do something like that where you kind of build a little box in. So it's kind of like one of those puzzles where you have to follow the lines and you can't ever leave the lines, or like a maze. You can do that. That's step one. That would be easier if you have like a notch out of the back and not like the Zephyr that has a full cutout, but the piece is solid. Um, so you could do that. The other option would be to put a fin on a fin. So you would basically, so we would take our fin, and I'm going to build this up a little funny, but so to put a fin on a fin, you actually have to use pods. So a pod is I like to think of the pods as glue. Pods are like an invisible connector that connects two pieces together. So they don't have any mass, which glue does, but they don't have any mass. They just kind of, what it is it tells RockSim I am connecting two pieces together that normally don't connect. Like a body tube and a fin, those normally connect. RockSim can handle that. But if I want to connect a fin to another fin, RockSim's like, what? It wasn't built that way, with that in mind. So we have pods. There was a way to do it before, but it was super hinky. Now we have the pods. So you'll click a pod, and it won't let you add a pod to. So I have my fins are a set of 3. So what you have to do is split the fins up. So it asks you if you want to do that, and oh, that crashed. I don't even know which version of RockSim I am on right now. Nope, not 556. Okay. Let's try this again, see if this works. Not, I have a bug to report to the programmer. Okay, so split. Let's see. Okay. That's my bug crash log. Okay, so now you can see it split my fin into 3 pieces. So we'll take our first fin and we'll add a pod. So we'll just call it pod 1 because it's fin 1. This pod can be injected. You can do like strap-on boosters with pods. So that's for that. Obviously, we don't want the tip of our fin falling off mid-flight. And then the location. And this is from the front end of the owning part, which means it's from the front tip of the fin. So like here, I had to move it back 6 inches because I wanted it to go to the tip here. So that's where we want it to start. Okay. And you can add mass to this. So technically it could be glue, I guess, but I'm not going to add any mass because I'm just connecting the 2 fins. Okay, so we'll start here. So we've added our glue, as it were. So now we are going to add a fin. And since the fin's pretty straightforward, the one issue I'm going to have is I need to find out what the let's see how wide this is. So we're looking at my brain is not, 8.82 minus 5.95. So 2.87. So I was just trying to figure out how wide that is because that's what we're going to build off of. So our new fin is going to be, I don't want one from the database. So I'm just going to do one fin because you can do 3 fins on a fin. So like if you were going to do a T, like a cross T-tail or something, you could put a fin on the end, but we're just going to do one to extend it. So we're just doing one fin. So then our root cord length was the 2.87. And then, I don't know how long we want this to be, 2.5. This is just the tip, sort of that little bit of the Zephyr fin, even though technically I should shorten the other one first. And then you just got to figure out what all these okay, there we go. So now we can see something. And then we just play with the like the, oops. Play with these. Here, my tip cord length. Oh, this should actually be whatever the tip. We'll just do 2 inches here. You just play with it, whatever. So, say this is our tip. It's very goofy looking, but okay. And then, so radial position, let's switch to a base view here. So in this case, we're just extending the fin, so that's fine. Oh, you know what I'm missing is, this is on the Zephyr, so this is 1/4 inch plywood. So you can see we've extended it there. So if we wanted to make it sideways, we would do that, but so we have our fin, so we'll call this good here. So the one problem with this is that it's attached directly, I don't want that view, it's attached directly, and we wanted that like gap. So to make the gap, you actually would need to like build this fin up. So you would need to use a custom fin, or I wonder if you could do a negative, you know, a through the wall tab. So tabbed at -1. Yeah, it does not like negatives. I thought maybe you could sneak it by, but it doesn't look like that works. So instead you'd have to build your fin. So you couldn't use a stock fin. You'd have to build a fin that was like built up and around. So you put it on there to do that. So that's how you would put, that's another option. Both of them are kind of goofy. RockSim, the effect, unless it's a major cutout, the effect probably isn't too much on your flight. So in terms of math, you're probably fine just doing it like a normal fin without the cutout. And even if you were to do one of these kind of funny ways, I don't know that the math would really be super accurate in terms of the whole. It would be the surface area would match, but I don't know in terms of like lift if it can kind of compensate for that hole. So I don't know, but those are 2 different ways you could kind of fudge a gap here in the fin to do that. And we've seen how well my drawing works, so I won't mess with that too much. But yeah, that would be kind of the 2 ways to do it to make it look great for that. So let's see here. Okay, so Fat Bank asks, how do I cancel or deactivate a RockSim Pro subscription? So we can definitely do that. Yeah. So there's a couple options for you. Arcade Plan 100. That's the fun thing about RockSim is, you know, it can't do exactly what you need, but there are some kind of fun ways you could play with it, especially if you've got time and patience and measurements for your fin. It's also hard to do this when you're just making stuff up. Um, but yeah. So RockSim, I'll tell you how to, you can cancel both RockSim and Launch Visualizer subscriptions just in case. So RockSim Pro, you will, what you do is you go into your account. You log into your account on the Apogee website. So I am, let's see. Let me see. I don't think I have any active RockSim Pro subscriptions right now, but um, so you log into your account, and then when on your account you can scroll down, and here is Manage My RockSim Pro subscription. So if you click on it, assuming you have an active one, so you can see here I have some canceled ones. This is back from we were testing. So mine renewed daily. You would be able to click here and click cancel, and it should cancel it immediately in terms of your account. And then what happens is, since it recharges once a month, it just what it does is it on that recharge date, it looks up and says, is this active or is it canceled? And the system will say canceled, so it won't recharge your card. So that's how, but you'll have it for the rest of the month. So if it renewed yesterday, you'll have 28 more days to use it when it's canceled. So it's super easy. Just go to your Apogee account, log into my account, and then go to Manage RockSim Pro subscription and click cancel. You could also reactivate it from there if you decide you want it, down the road. You're not going to be doing rockets because you're having surgery, going on vacation, whatever. Then you can turn it off for a month or two and then come back and turn it back on when you need it. That's the beauty of that. And then the launch visualizer, you go into your account. So this is the account, and you go to your user dashboard, and you go to your little info eye screen here. And if you have a regular subscription active, then this here, there's a place where you can, it'll say pay now, and this will always be active because even if you have an account, because there's always the option to buy booster credits to buy additional, to do additional flights. So this will always be there, and then you click on it to go buy more. But you can scroll down, and on this, you can change your payment card. Say your card's expiring, or you had to close it because of, card number got stolen, or close the account or whatever. You can always change your credit card. So for next time, it will change it. And then you can also come here and cancel. So you just click the cancel button, and it will, I think it asks you to confirm, and you click confirm, and then you will get an email at some point saying it's canceled. And same deal, it should work through the end of your subscription period. And then it'll send you a couple emails saying your subscription's about to expire, renew. Those also tell you that it's not going to renew as well. So that's how you cancel both of those. So if you don't need them, feel free to cancel them. We don't want anybody, we love your business, but if you're not going to use it, then that's okay too. So hopefully that's pretty easy. We wanted to make it pretty straightforward. How to do that. I hate when you sign up for something and you can't figure out how to cancel it, and it takes 3 phone calls and 10 emails and whatever to get it done. So that's pretty good. So that's all the questions in the chat right now. So we still have like 20 minutes left. We had one person contact us yesterday about a problem with their RockSim where their rocket wouldn't leave the pad. So I could talk a little bit about that. It's hard to simulate. They didn't send us a file to test with, but so I can't, the problem is I can't set up the situation that they were in. But basically, let me open this up. This is kind of common, so let me reopen this not jacked up version of the Zephyr. There we go. Pretty normal Zephyr. So what happened was they went to launch their rocket. So they went to the choose engine and they chose an engine, and let's pick one that will fit in this rocket. Since um, let's see, Troy flew the Apogee Zephyr on an H100. I didn't realize you flew this so long too. That's exciting. So Zephyr on the H100. So we'll see how Troy's rocket flew compared to this. So we've got that. And I think my launch rod's really short. Pick a longer rod. Make sure my launch conditions 700 feet. We're at 6,000 feet. That's a little low. And we'll set our there. Just a constant. Okay. Making sure I didn't mess anything up. So we'll launch. So this Zephyr on an H100 with a little bit of a too long delay went 2,167 feet. So that's a pretty decent flight. A little high for a certification flight, but a pretty good flight overall. But this customer contacted us and said he went to fly his rocket in RockSim and it wouldn't leave the pad. It just got stuck on the pad. And this is a pretty common question. It has to do generally with files that are older. Once upon a time, at some point in the distant past, RockSim had this weird setting for in the parts that was custom. So if you went into your part, the material, instead of being plastic, wood, fiberglass, there was a custom option and somehow got in there. And custom, there was probably some thought behind it that you could then put in your information, or I don't know exactly how it got into RockSim, but it's really old. And so the problem is that custom has no density. RockSim doesn't know what custom is. So it doesn't know what the part weighs, what the mass is, or what the center of gravity location is. So it freaks out. Instead of just ignoring it, or like, which would be bad because then your rocket would be basically flying without like the nose cone in this case, but without ignoring it, it just shuts everything down. So what happens is you go to fly it, and in your flight simulation, you get like the rocket is just sitting on a pad with no parachute, no, like, this is a crash here. And so Allie talked to him on the phone. Allie's one of our wonderful customer service representatives. And one of the first things we have people do is we have them check for that custom material. So if you open up your part, and if you ever see this, if you open up your part and your part has a mass of 0, you have a problem. Because other than fake pod, the pods that I was talking about, every part should have some sort of mass, even though it weighs like next to nothing if you're putting something tiny in there. So always check your materials, especially fins seem to be a really bad culprit of this. So check your material if you ever have a rocket. That does that. Also, a lot of times it won't leave the pad and it'll say NAN in these fields. NAN stands for not a number. Again, it means RockSim just goes, I don't know. I don't know what to do. So like this guy has an NA because this column is for velocity at deployment. So what time did the parachute deploy? But the parachute never deployed for whatever reason. So that's why it says not applicable, because there was no parachute. And I don't know what's up with this one that did that for that. Yeah. So that's one thing. I guess it's nap time now. The other thing that can happen sometimes, and we talked about this before when I've been here doing RockSim Live, is to check your starting state in your engine selection and make sure your launch rod is upright. When your launch angle is, 90 degrees or, even more than 90 degrees. So your launch rod is literally pointing into the ground. Shockingly, your rocket does not fly. So, and I've seen that come up too. It's one of those, because of this like swirly bar thing, sometimes people don't realize they've moved it and you end up with weird things. So those are two things you can kind of check on for that. So Troy, I'm going back up to Troy's original comment that he said the new Estes, he flew the Estes So Long on 2 F-15 motors last weekend. So in case you've noticed, I have 2 rockets here. These 2 rockets are being released by Apogee, fingers crossed, in the next 2 weeks. Not released, but we will have them available in the next 2 weeks. And the first one, I'm going to switch back to my camera. And no, don't. We all know we're on Apogee rockets again. The first one is the Estes So Long, and it is so long that it doesn't fit in the screen here. So we should have this available starting Tuesday. Here. Oh, that's a placeholder. So this is the Estes So Long. Estes just released them, and so some people are already able to get them from places. This is a 2-stage 29 millimeter rocket that is very long, hence the name So Long. Also, maybe because it, who knows if you'll see it again, it goes so long. So yeah, so we're just, the only reason we don't have it on the website right now is we're just finishing. We just got the display model built. I think it got finished yesterday. So we're just getting the web page done. It takes us a couple days to do a whole web page on our site because they're so detailed. We got to build the RockSim file and run the motor charts and get all the photos for everything. And we build pretty much every kit. So that's had to be built. So it's a 2-stage, and what's interesting about this one is this is actually a jig. This comes with the kit and it helps you build it. But for the actual kit, the motors function as the coupling between the 2 stages. So like these don't stick together on their own. Normally you'd have a coupler in there, but these are, because they're minimum diameter, the motors. So in the meantime, you get this cool little jig to help for assembly and then also for display purposes. It's kind of nice for that. So this is a really cool kit. There's a couple things that are interesting about it. So once that goes live Tuesday, definitely check that out. Tim, I don't know if they'll be up for Tuesday. I know he did them. I think he was doing an unboxing video, so you can see the parts and his thoughts on that. And then also an intro video for that. So definitely check in. We should have that on our site. Like I said, Tuesday, I think. And the upper motor. Displaying these is always interesting because of the motors and everything. And then the other kit I have here is the TTV Rocket, which will be coming out. This is our rocket that we are designing and releasing. And this should be coming out, fingers crossed, in 2 weeks. We're basically at the production level web pages, getting instructions to final layout for things like that. And this kit was designed specifically around testing the new Simple Timer, the new version of the Simple Timer that is out now. The Apogee Simple Timer, it has an added, Tim probably talked about this recently, but the old Simple Timer was just a timer. This one has an added Apogee ejection charge. So if your rocket goes unstable, it will automatically send that charge off. So you no longer have to worry about, your parachute popping out if your rocket goes unstable. As soon as it detects that tilt over, it'll fire the Apogee charge. So that's really cool. So we got the new altimeter. We had to test it somehow. So Martin, our product development person, invented a rocket to test the timer, and it was so cool. We were like, well, maybe we should sell this. So yeah, this is the TTV, and it will be available soon from Apogee. So keep your eyes out for that. It is a 2-stage BT 60 to BT 55. So this uses an 18 millimeter motor in the upper stage and a 24 in the bottom. So it's pretty darn cool. So definitely check it out. So we'll have both of those available in the next couple weeks. And then start working on our next kit. So they're pretty cool there. And so Troy was asking about the motor mount of the TTV. So yeah, it's the two-stage 18 and 24. So you can use it because it's got the electronics capabilities. You can use it with composite motors in the upper stage. And there's some, pretty cool Quest composite motors that will work well for that too. So there's a lot of possibilities with between the black powder and everything. So it's pretty neat there. So I'll just let's see. Terry asks, "Is there a button in RockSim where you can design it and then order the parts?" We're not there yet. That is definitely one of those things that the someday, especially once we get RockSim in the cloud, so that it runs on a browser instead of on actually your computer, which is a goal. It's a goal. It's a big, huge goal, and it's going to take a really long time to do. But that's what we're hoping for. And then once you're already in the browser, there's no reason why you couldn't have it. Like you could design a rocket and then have it as long as there's stock parts. You couldn't have it add the parts to the cart or at least go to the pages or whatever. So that would be awesome. We would love that. Anything we can do to get people to come to us and make things easier for you guys for that. So that would be neat. Okay, so just some final wrap up things since we don't have any more questions. So just as a reminder, so the launch visualizer is at rocksim.com. You can fly for free without being logged in. Log out here. So without logging in, I can choose a rocket, find the launch sites are locked. That's one of the upper tiers. And starting state, so all this is locked, but you can use it without even logging in. So we don't even need to know what you're doing with that. And then you can create an account for free as well. So there's no cost to fly basically all low power, mid power rockets for that. You do a finite amount of credits towards that, but yeah, we definitely want people to check it out and see what cool things they can do with that. And then RockSim, is available on our website. There is a free demo if you don't have the RockSim software under How To and Guides, Software, RockSim 10 free trial. You just fill out the information and send it to yourself. And we will send you a link and you can try out the demo. The demo will work for 30 days for free, and it's got probably like 90% of the features are turned on for that. And then if you need to get to these RockSim Live, you're like, hey, I remember Michelle talked about that a couple weeks ago, and I can't remember how to get there. There's two different ways. The cheat way that I always go is on the homepage. If you scroll down, there's this little picture with Tim of RockSim Live. That will take you to the page. Or you can go to the How To and Guides menu, Software, and RockSim Live Training. Go to the same page. Either way, which is why I just go to the homepage. And then we have all 124. This is the 125th. 125, that's crazy. RockSim Live. And so you can look them up. I do a find on the page a lot. So it's Command F or I think Control F on Windows. And if I'm looking for nose, nose weight, like we talked about, you can just search for nose on the page. Most of these have hyperlinks to the actual, so you don't have to watch the whole thing. You can jump straight to the moment in the video where we talk about adding a nose cone to your design, or whatever. So I use this a lot when people call now. This is great. You guys ask great questions, and then what's cool is we save it, and then when other people ask the same questions, when customers call or email us, we can just send it and say, Terry had a question about this, and here's the link, and you can watch us answer it right live on there on the YouTube. So that's pretty cool too. And yeah, and then our site, as always, it's there. If you have any questions, you can give us a call. We do answer the phone. Like the one time we don't answer the phone live is we have staff meetings Thursday mornings usually. So if you call us then, that's like the one time that we aren't live on the phone, and we'll call you back as soon as the meeting's over. If you get us a voicemail another time, it's just because we're, people are in the bathroom and people are walking in and people are on other lines. Um, but yeah, call, talk to a real person, ask us your questions. You can fill out the contact form to email us your questions, especially RockSim Live questions ahead of time. That's always great when I'm doing it. I will be back here, I think, in 2 weeks um, doing this again. So save up your easier questions for me and send them in. And we'll be doing this again because Tim will be at the FAI World Championships in Texas. His daughter is competing on the adult team there. So they will be down there. So if you're going down to the FAIs, say hi to Tim there. So, and Troy asks, is the booster section on the TTV do tumble recovery? It has a parachute, actually. There are two parachutes in the kit. So there's one in the top and one in the bottom. So no, it's not tumble recovery. I just finished reading the instructions 30 seconds before I started this, so it's on the top of my head. So yeah, so check in for the kit releases in the next 2 weeks. We should be having fun with that soon. Oh my gosh, I just realized I was not showing you my screen at all while I was clicking on things. It's been a long week. It's been a long week for anybody else. It's been a really long week. So I think that's all for today. Thank you guys for coming and asking some questions and putting up with me and my terrible fin drawing. And if you have any more questions, fill out the contact form, send them in, and we'll answer them. We'll get them prepped and ready for next week. And like I said, I should be back here, I think, in 2 weeks to cover for Tim. So I will see you all then. And I hope you have a great weekend and a great Father's Day for those of you who are fathers or have fathers or have father figures in your lives. And have fun launching. We'll see you next time.